Welcome back to Sustainability Circle. I'm your host Montse, and today we're going to be talking about food. For this episode, we will have a special guest. Her name is Sumara, and she's going to be talking through sustainable food systems with us. Stay tuned.
My name is Sumara. I'm the Food Systems Change Coordinator with Embark Sustainability. I'm a student at SFU, and I'm studying health sciences. I'm in the life science program, but it's a very interdisciplinary field. We talk a lot about the social determinants of health, as well as kind of the molecular biology and all those different elements. And so I always had an interest in sustainability and worked in some projects kind of throughout high school, and then coming to SFU, I started volunteering with the food rescue program.
Oh, cool.
Because of my interest in food systems and gardening and all these different things. And so just kind of grew from there, and I got more involved.
So how did joining as the food systems coordinator, I guess, expand your knowledge about sustainability habits, specifically in food systems?
As you're developing events and programs and workshops and that kind of thing, there's a lot of opportunity for learning stuff that you're interested in and that you want to share with others. And so for me, within food systems, it's a pretty diverse set of topics, but I've learned a lot about social sustainability, which I hadn't really been exposed to before. So concepts like food sovereignty and food justice, that kind of expanded my understanding of food systems and what we can do to improve them. And then also the sciencey side of things and how food systems and climate are related, how food systems change can be used as a tool for climate change mitigation. Definitely a lot of learning on those topics as well.
Yeah, but so how does food specifically affect climate change, and how can we overcome that?
The statistics are really surprising. I mean, in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, food system, everything from production to waste to transport, that kind of thing, accounts for, I believe, about 29% of greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah.
So tremendous, right? Everything from the meat industry to shipping your veggies, all these different things add up. And so when you're looking at the kind of picture of food systems and where the challenges are, there's just so much that can be done to mitigate emissions and to work to reduce those. It's such a bi-directional relationship. As the climate changes, it becomes more difficult to grow food. Certain crops aren't able to be grown in different areas. Farmland becomes more vulnerable to environmental degradation, all these different challenges. And then the reverse of that is that food systems contribute so much to global emissions.
Right.
And so if we can really restructure the food systems, there's a huge amount of potential there. One of the things that got me interested in kind of that relationship is something called Project Drawdown. And so they map out different climate change solutions, they call them, about like how we can stop emitting so much and how we can mitigate the changing climate or the slowdown climate change. And they've mapped out these solutions and all their different modeling processes and whatnot, and they've shown that I think it's 8 out of the top 20 of these solutions that they found are related to food. Things like food waste, things like soil regeneration, all sorts of different agricultural practices that can really be improved.
But as an average person, what can I do to help besides, changing to a more plant-based diet? What impact can I have, or what can I do to, I guess, create a more sustainable food system, or at least strive to create one?
Yeah, so you already mentioned the plant-based diet. I know that the Climate Action Team does have a kind of veggie challenge going on, so they're helping students kind of understand how to eat in an affordable, sustainable way that is mostly veggie-based, because those tend to be kind of the lower impact foods. But it is important to note that the food system is really complex, and so not everything is black and white,
right,
in terms of what is the best practice. And so it's so hard as a consumer to know what the right choices are. Should it be local? Should it be organic? Should it be plant-based? Should it be a meat replacement? All of these different questions. But I think educating yourself to kind of have an understanding of the impact of food, and then just keeping that in mind and being a mindful consumer of food is so important. So things like reducing food waste, bringing your own container somewhere for taking leftovers home, like simple stuff like that. Just being more mindful of how we interact with food and stop wasting it. That's a big one for sure.
For sure.
Food systems as a whole, they're they're not just the consumption and production and everything. Things like packaging and production and shipping, all of those kind of relate as well, right? And so perhaps that's where the zero waste movement ties in. But definitely, like, if you're more mindful of, as a consumer, you're thinking about, like, oh, is this packaged unnecessarily in vast amounts of plastic, or is this coming from far away where it needs to have a lot of shipping material to get it here, that kind of thing. So yeah, just being more mindful of how our food gets to us.
So how has this impacted, I guess, your personal and social life? Being more mindful, like you mentioned, does it make it harder to go out and do things with friends, or is it just an extra thing that doesn't really take much effort to do?
You mean in terms of the decisions?
Yeah, like shopping and I guess eating out, and after learning about all this information, does that really affect you and how you do your day-to-day activities?
Well, I think we're all overloaded with so much information. For me, I think that I've had a family that's kind of instilled these things about not wasting food, using your leftovers, eating a veggie diet, that kind of thing. So obviously our personal decisions aren't perfect 100% of the time, or even 80% of the time, because we don't know all of the underlying factors about, like, what's best and what our decisions should be. I think it's challenging the more you know to, like, try to make the best decision and try not to feel bad, like thinking about, okay, is this coffee coming from somewhere sustainable? Is it fair trade? Is it grown in a good way? All these different factors. But we're also working within a lot of limitations in a personal perspective, right? Whether it's financial or time or whatever it may be. And so I think it's recognizing that balance between making responsible decisions as an individual and also working kind of on that, like, education and social scale about how we need to change systems so that they are more conducive to responsible decision making.
So where would you say Canada is in having a sustainable food system?
Well, Canada's so hard. It's mostly northern. We're all concentrated down here at the border. There's certainly a lot of challenges in food systems. I know that, for example, we have greenhouses to grow certain veggies, and those use a huge amount, or those produce a huge amount of emissions. They're resource intensive, but in a lot of ways we are working with the environment and the land that we have available here. I wouldn't be able to make a judgment on whether, like, the whole system is doing well. Certainly there's a lot of things we could do throughout kind of the food system, whether consumers or organizations to do better. For example, with food waste in Canada, the global average is about 30% of food is wasted at some point within the food system, so really huge, right? And I think it's comparable for Canada, so we're not doing a particularly better job than the global average, at least on that one statistic. And there's a lot to be improved. One thing that is happening is a project for a national food policy. Which isn't something that Canada has ever had, and a lot of countries don't have it, but it's kind of mapping out, like, what we need to do better, what are the pieces of the food system and how can they be improved. Awesome. So everything from transportation to agriculture and production and all this kind of piecework that needs to be brought together and done better. They're working on that right now, and a great resource for learning about that or for anything. Also, you're interested about food systems is Food Secure Canada. They have a lot of educational resources and information about what's going on with food systems in Canada.
Is there anything that you're currently working on?
So within food systems, we have the food rescue program, we have the learning garden program, and we have the community kitchens as well. Within those, we have a garden coordinator who's wonderful and leads, like, the learning garden and different sessions for students to learn how to grow food, to learn how to look after gardens. And then those plots are available to the community as well. So anybody at SFU can rent a plot for just a small fee for the year, which is a great opportunity to kind of be able to grow your own food and experiment with that. The food rescue program is a project that we have a partnership with Nesters, and so any food that can't be sold anymore because of, like, visible imperfections and things that don't meet grocery store standards, they donate to us, and so we run that twice a week, and can distribute produce for free to the students and staff at SFU and just anybody coming by. And that program is really fun. It's just well, it's awesome to be able to give food out
Yeah.
for free to students,
Mhm.
and also to have conversations with people about, like, okay, so this food doesn't look perfect, but it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that it's waste,
Yeah.
right? So that's kind of a two-pronged approach, that we're
Uh-huh.
diverting food from basically the landfill or from going to waste,
Yeah.
and also using it as like an educational tool to talk about food waste and what we can do in our personal lives to reduce that. As a fun fact, we diverted, I believe, over 2,700 kilograms of food last year.
What?
So like as reference, I think it's approximately the same weight as a female orca, just as a fun fact.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
So it's a small scale
Yeah.
project, right? But you can still start to see it adding up.
Uh-huh.
And also those conversations and the volunteers that are involved in the program, they have a much better understanding and appreciation
Wow.
for the problem. So that's one of my favorite programs for sure.
Have you received any, I guess, like backlash or any common misconceptions by giving away food?
For sure, yeah. So I think that it's hard for people to wrap their heads around, like, oh, expiry dates aren't set in stone.
Right.
Those are kind of a social construct of like grocery stores needing to have a date to protect themselves, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So definitely some interesting conversations about that. And then when you're giving away food for free as well, you have to be mindful that not everybody's going to be accepting of that,
Right.
or they may not feel that they need it, and so they're just going to let other people take it, and so it's just what people are comfortable with.
Right.
But there's still some really good conversations,
Yeah, I can imagine.
and good chances for like engagement and fun trivia to talk to people with.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us, having this conversation.
Thanks for watching this episode of Sustainability Circle. For more information, check out the description below, and I hope to see you guys next week for our next episode. Bye.